Young athletes with big stories. These sports stories are here to motivate, equip, and enlighten the next generation. You're listening to an Echo Sports production. Here's your host.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for checking out our podcast today. I'm your host, Edwin Glosson, and I'm hanging out with my guy, Scott Johnson of West Virginia Thunder, the reigning UAA 17U champions from this past season. What's going on, Scott? How are you doing?
Another day in the office, another day to grind and talk basketball. That's what we do here.
Speaking of office, I've had a chance to hang out at West Virginia Thunder HQ. I with the TVs and the shoes and everything. Is that where you are right now?
Yeah, we're in here right now, and this is where we do the brainstorming and try to figure out the plan to repeat what we did this year. So got our work cut out for us in this little room. I'll tell you that.
You guys, I was really impressed with just the operation that you guys have and the way that you go about your business. And the first thing that stood out was the headquarters. I can't think of another program in the country that has a setup quite like that. Just curious, when did you guys move into what is now West Virginia Thunder HQ?
About a year ago. We were doing it out of basically my outbuilding. I got a little shed out back and got electric back here and stuff. It was just getting too big. We need somewhere that me and Brian could come sit down 4 or 5 days a week and strictly work and not get interrupted. And I feel like since we've moved in here and come in here and brainstorm every day and get stuff done, I feel like our program has seen elevation because of it.
One thing, you hit on Coach Mallory, and just another thing that really impressed me about the organization is your ability to surround yourself with great, knowledgeable people like Jamar Mosley, Purcell Marion head coach, Coach Mallory, Danny Riego, and other long-standing West Virginia Thunder leadership. To speak to just how you really do a great job or work towards making sure that you may not be the smartest person in the room on a specific subject, but you get the right guys in the room to make sure that West Virginia Thunder continues to propel forward.
And also we got Coach Epps as well.
Yeah.
I think it's like, if I'm going in the jungle and I'm going in there to fight a bunch of warriors, I don't want to be the toughest dude in the jungle on my team. So I'm going to go get some ammunition around me. And that's kind of what we did here. Like this girl's grassroots space is just jungle sometimes. And I need smart minds around me, and I don't need do-boys. I don't need sheep. I need leaders. I need people with new ideas that doesn't care to stand up to me. There's 5 or 6 of us, and when we're at odds or something, we put it to a vote. And if there's 6 of us voting and it's 3-3, we got Coach Smith, Ryan Smith in there too. When it's 3-3, then I'll tip the scale and make the final decision. But certain subjects, maybe it's only 5 of us voting, or maybe it's only 3. I go with the majority, and that's because I don't put do-boys around me. I put people that understand the game, understand the process, and I also put people that'll stand up for themselves.
Now, when West Virginia Thunder was founded over 30 years ago, and you weren't in the game 30 years ago, but I'm sorry, I don't know his last name, but Larry, your mentor, was. Just speak to how the impact he had on you as a person, you as a coach or club director, and the way that you all look to honor his legacy and what you do today with the way West Virginia Thunder looks today.
Yeah, Larry Lambert is who started the program. He started in '91, and he started with one team. And then he would coach 2 teams, so probably around 2002, 2003, somewhere around there. He brought me in as his assistant because my daughter played. And after 2 or 3 years, my daughter got 7th, 8th grade, and he got sick and had brain cancer, and it was a rapidly deteriorating thing, and he passed away quickly. So then I was kind of left with the program. But it was only a couple teams. It was only 2 teams at that point. But, talk about like how we got here now. We have 50 teams and we have all this. Well, the only way you can get and build what we have right now is the people and how you deal with the people and the culture and the organizational piece. And that's what Larry taught me. Larry taught me how to deal with parents. He taught me how to deal with kids. It wasn't so much a basketball thing, that Larry taught me. I'm not saying he didn't teach me anything basketball wise, but the game evolves over here. So That stuff I've had to go out and evolve my knowledge. But what hasn't changed is the foundation he laid on how I need to treat the kids, how I need to deal with parents, when to be stern, when to be, easy, like that type of stuff. He was a longtime principal and he's really good with dealing with people. And I feel like that's what I got from him. And that's why there's still a program today.
Now, speaking of the X's and O's, when you talked about, the game, that's another thing, being able to spend a few days with you guys and listen in on those practices and see what it is that you all were teaching. I'm crazy impressed with your knowledge on the whiteboard, brother. I'm just curious, where did you get that? In coaching, I just got to know, where was it that you started acquiring that knowledge in that regard?
Well, it's I get that question a lot, and people was like, did you play? Who'd you play for? Who'd you coach under? Well, honestly, I didn't play nowhere. I didn't really I coached under Shannon Lewis at St. Joe, and Shannon's a good coach. And I learned stuff from Shannon, I'm not saying that. But the wealth of my knowledge I just got from just stealing it from people, going to college practices, watching YouTube, going to coaching clinics. And when I started this, I just had such a vested interest in teaching my daughters the game. So I can't teach my daughter something that I don't know. So I started learning, and then I got addictive personality. So I did something, I'm going to do it. I want to be the best at it. So I want to acquire the most knowledge. And it's something that my brain just caught on to. So really it's just a collection, like, probably in 2014 when we started doing a bunch of our chin stuff. Well, I'm not a dummy. I just called 10, 12 different college coaches and that ran that stuff and picked their brain. And then I bring it back. Like we said, I try to surround myself with people that's smarter than me. I bring back the nuts and bolts. Here, this is what I want to do. Now let's help us screw this shit together. And that's what my staff does. So we've got it, kind of our system in place. Like, yes, I brought the system to the table, on our side, but everybody, had their hands in it.
So shifting gears, talking about this season, you had West Virginia Thunder Riego, West Virginia Thunder Johnson, both teams making it to the semifinals of the UAA National Championship, or the finals of the UAA tournament or season. Both teams consistently ranked in the top 10 nationally on some of those polls when it came to club teams. How did you all come together as a unit, as you guys work collectively to form such a balanced team? How did it work like that?
A lot of hours in this office, a lot of arguing, a lot of discussion, a lot of debating, a lot of moving pieces. It was a bunch of Zoom calls, a bunch of three-way calls, a bunch of just trying to deal, because you're trying to put it together and you're fighting the stigma of it's a B team. That's what everybody wanted to say. Let's go back to what the first question we got on this podcast is about Larry Lambert and what he taught me. He taught me don't lie, don't bullshit nobody, be blunt. So you do that for 18 years and you're bold and you're blunt and you're honest. When you're calling potential recruits, they might not believe you right that second, or their families. But our favorite line in the recruiting process is, I don't want to know who you call, but go call 5 people and just ask about me. And what you hear is, hey, Scott's not going to bullshit you. Scott's blunt. The Thunder's going to do what they say. And I think that killed out the noise of the B team. And then you start adding, when you start announcing studs on the roster, they're like, well, first of all, Danny Riego's not going to coach a B team. Well, he put Sydney Mobley on that team. She's a future McDonald's All-American. Like, she's not going to be on a B team. Leah Macy's on that team. Zaniyah Williams is on that team. Maya Makalewski's on that team. Well, if it's a B team, it's the best B team I've ever seen in the history of sports.
That couldn't be more true. I'm just curious. Obviously, you mentioned Sid Mobley being someone that you moved over that has been playing with your daughter for a long time, that played with them when she played age group for a short while. But I just got to know, who was the first big name to fall or to answer the call and say, yeah, we say yes to that. We want on that squad.
For the 17U Riego?
Yes.
I think it was Maya Makalewski or Zaniyah Williams. Okay. Because Sid was already with us. So Sid's parents just trusted me to make what the best decision for Sid was. And when we looked at rosters and we looked at geographical situations, then we ended up moving Sid over there position wise and, stuff like that. It came into play. We're looking at rosters. Like, do we need another wing here? Do we need a post here? Do we need a point here? And that's how we started kind of piecing it together. But Makaluski and Zaniah Williams was the two pieces that I think that the first two that got it rolling.
Now, with those two teams being as competitive as they were, and a group of two, filled with alpha apex predator type athletes on those squads, how were you guys able to keep the us versus them down to a minimum? It's just natural. Like, hey, that's them over there. Look at them; they're ranked high. I mean, it just every athlete does it. Go ahead.
I think how it's done is when their coaching staff, the group of adults, equally care about both teams equal, and both coaches. And when you got Coach Epps sitting on Danny on Riego's bench and he's helping them kids, and Danny's sitting on Epps's bench and I'm sitting on both benches and Jamar's sitting on both benches. In practice, we're together, we're scheming together. I think they see it's like we look at it as us against the world. We try to keep that mentality. And I don't think that, like, in this program, I hate when people want to compare everything. So, I have a saying, don't worry about your neighbor's grass. I'm so sick and tired of these parents and these kids worrying about what somebody else got, what some other team got. Like, I don't care. Worry about you and yourself and your team. And I think just that mentality through our program is more as I get that beat into parents and kids' heads, then you see the result. We're all cheering for each other. And when we say we're one big family, we really are. But you don't know that on the outside because everybody says that. But I think if this doesn't prove it, then what does?
Absolutely. Now you hit you touched on something right there when, hey, don't worry about your neighbor's grass. We were hanging out. Which stop? Because we were at all the stops with you guys. I want to say we were in Indy, and we were talking about that, and you were talking about the way that you may deal with helping athletes learn that the world's not fair and don't worry about anybody else's stuff. Will you talk about and share the story about the shoes? And when you hand out gear, I'd love for everybody to hear that, just the way that you kind of handle that and squash that in that particular instance.
So towards the end, right there to sessions, Under Armour corporate calls me. They say, Scott, I got some new shoes for both your 17U teams, and I got some shoes for your daughter's team. Okay, my daughter's 15U team. I said, all right, cool. I didn't ask for none of the shoes. They called me. I took it. So I passed out the 17U shoes, both. I got some 16U kids sitting there. So I've got the 15U shoes sitting there, and there's some 16U kids around. So I say, come here. And they're like, what do you got for me, Coach Scott? I said, come here. I got something for you. I got a lesson for you. I'm going to teach you this lesson that life is not fair, and don't worry about somebody else's stuff. The 15U's getting these shoes because my daughter is on the team. I said, when whoever owns Walmart dies, the best employee don't get Walmart, okay? His family gets it. I said, so this is a lesson right here. Life's not fair, and don't worry about what somebody else got. I said, would you even care that you didn't get the shoes if the 15 you didn't get the shoes? No, Coach Scott. I said, all right, lesson learned. Well, keep your head down. Worry about your grass. Don't worry about your neighbor's grass. And remember, life is not fair. So get used to it.
That's a great lesson right there. And totally understand how that can help kids stay in their lane. I'm just curious because when you're coaching at that level, I've had a chance to be a part of a special club, SA Finest, and on the boy side years ago with the Texas Ambassadors, and seeing that we're an Adidas group at the time, and just with 9 times out of 10, when you have a very talented young athlete behind them as an equally motivated and type A type parent to help that athlete navigate that journey and get to where they are, how do you keep parents in their lane and keep the tail from wagging the dog, so to speak? Because that can happen in certain clubs.
It definitely can happen. It's just hard to happen with my personality because I'm so strong personality. I'm aggressive, and I got a lot of respect out here too. So sometimes, when I'm recruiting a kid and they're like, they have problem parents. I was like, well, maybe you got a problem coach, or maybe you got a problem director. Like, we don't have problems because we just don't deal with them. It's hard because everybody wants their child to succeed, and everybody, sees the best in their child. It's just like, you either got to trust me or you don't. And, I got a saying, like, either love us or leave us. If you don't love us, then you can go somewhere else, because I know the alternative. Like, I hear it. That's why we get calls every year from kids that's been with certain programs for years. And they're calling us because stuff like that. We will not let parents push us around. We do not let kids push us around. And that's why we don't have issues.
Good stuff. Hold on. I lost my track here, but either way, my editor will edit out of this, but that's all great stuff. See where I was going for it. All right, here we go. So another question, I know you all, in a unique situation, you have a incredibly big platform, big reputation for helping kids and showcasing kids in the right situations to help them get where they want to go. But some programs may feel salty, and they may feel like when you get these kids, I'm just curious, have you ever heard, they're just body collectors. They're not developers. They didn't help. Look at those kids. They didn't help develop Leah Macy. They didn't make Maya Lusky to where she was. Why are they going over there? Do you guys ever hear anything like that? And what's your message to the kids?
Yeah, you definitely hear that. But like, my question back to that is, why is this kid that you so-called developed and spent all this time with, and you did so good by, why are they calling us? Like, and there's different strokes for different folks. Sometimes you can only get kids to certain levels, and you got to appreciate it, and you did it, but sometimes they got to move on. Like, we're not doing a bunch of dribbling drills here and working on your shot mechanics and your footwork. We're teaching you basketball. Like, we're teaching you, so there's more than, they say develop. We're developing brains over here. Basketball IQ, stuff that's going to translate to the next level. Now, we might not be in the gym doing your skill work 2 and 3 times a week, but that's not, we're getting, and then for the most part, with like the Leah Macy situation, that was only 1 year we're putting a new team, kind of together. You kind of got to, but if you look at the Johnson team, there is 10 kids there, and every one of them has at least played 3 years with us. So, except for Ivana, because she just came in as a freshman, but she will play 3 years. So I don't know if you're getting kids for 3 years. I think you're probably part of their development. And I think if you get the kids on the last year, when they're saying they're just body collectors, I think you need to do a better job of collecting and keeping your own bodies, bro. Like, come on, you're doing something wrong. You're not showing up to the office 4 or 5 days a week working. We're just out working you. I'm just going to tell you, step your game up. We're going to keep collecting talent. We're going to keep coaching talent, and we're going to keep elevating these minds kids. And if you can't do it, then we're here to do it.
Now, fast forward into this season, I would just want to fast forward to Championship Monday, I believe is what that was. And one of the coolest moments that I think I saw, because getting a chance, we had a chance to spend some time with Dee and her family at her house when we were filming the docuseries back there in Cincinnati. So had a chance to meet some of those folks. But seeing them front row, seeing her, some of her future college teammates that stopped by because it was in Ohio, the championship game, to show support and watch her play, and obviously her future coaching staff out there watching her play during the championship game. Speak to just that moment of seeing that, and also just what she's meant for your program.
Yeah, Dee Alexander, what she's meant for our program. We was a program that was always just labeled they do the little things. They're a predominantly white program. Let's just, at that point in time, it is what it is. We have a bunch of mid-majors, low D1s. When Dee came over here, she believed, her and her mom believed in my vision that I had for her. We sat down and talked. I think she was in 7th grade. And then she kind of set the foundation. You got to think, without no Dee, there's not a Kimora Johnson. Without no Dee and Kimora, there's not no Zakiah. And the list can go on and on and on. But Dee's where it started. The raise started. Dee's not where it started. It started back years and years ago. But Dee's what elevated the program to another level, because it started helping us attract other type of kids. And then they sing because back in the day, I used to play a lot of zone, all right, well, Scott has the athletes. He's going to change. So he can coach different ways. And I think just having D, and it's something about D that's so special is, we talked about, you hit on a second ago about parents and how do you do. D was with us in 7th grade, so 5 years. Not one single time, I repeat, not one, did her mama ever call and ask about some situation on the basketball floor. Or D needs this, D needs that, or D didn't get invited to this, or D got cut from this, or D didn't. Not one time. Not one in 5 years. You think about that. Like, I can remember games when she was playing up with the 17U in 7th and 8th grade. Like, I'd get mad and bench her, not start her. She was still probably the best player on the team or one of the top. I get mad at the team, I'd just bench D. Never said a word except, my bad, Scott. I got you. Mom's never even asked a question. Not one question. She just trusted the process. And that's how you get a kid in a program for 5 years that's going to college now, that's getting taken care of. And life is changing for her, and it will, because she just trusted the process and trusted what we knew. We always say, as a joke when I first got her, I used to say, in D we trust. And what showed up on the biggest stage at the biggest time? In D we trust. I mean, right in her hometown with her friends, family. But it wasn't surprising. I've watched the kid do it. She shows up. And I can't say enough good things about her and her family.
I think one thing that you hit on there is you said that if there was no D. Alexander, there'd be no Zakiah Johnson. So that is a kid that essentially plays a very similar position. They're both very versatile wing guard type players in the same class, very closely ranked, and D. Alexander is helping sell the positives to West Virginia Thunder and why you should come play with me instead of keeping the shine for herself. You're telling me that that's the kind of kid she is?
That's why I said D we trust. It's more to just in her. Like, what kid goes, I think at that time when they came there ranked like 2 and 3 or 3 and 4. Same position, battling for the same, awards and the same achievements, whatever, and her mom help us get the kid. We talk about unselfish, we talk about in winter, we talk about, I say, in D we trust. That's why. Like, there was never no jealousy. Never, not once. The year that she helped us get Zakiah in, Zakiah has 30 in the championship game, the 4 overtime game we win. She was getting all the attention. D was just clapping. She was her biggest supporter. She was her biggest fan. And that's special. And that starts at home. Okay? She never looked at her neighbor's grass. Well, she might have looked at her grass and said, here, let me help you cut your grass. I'm focused on mine, but come over here. Let's do this together. So it's just different, man. Like, it's just different. Like, and that's the most special thing about those two. Same position, same kids, going for the same everything. But at the end of the day, they wanted to win. And they wanted to play together, and they wanted to win. They didn't know each other before that either. It wasn't like there was a pre-existing relationship.
Oh, man. So one thing, speaking of family, you have a strong personality. You describe yourself as being aggressive at times, but the one thing that really struck me was, Championship Monday was seeing you in Pawpaw mode. You got one on your shoulders, one grandbaby that you got holding your hand, asking you for a snack. And you're like, hold on, let me go get you a snack in a second. You got your wife, your daughters, your son who drove up, your son-in-law hanging out there. Talk about just the other side that people might not be able to see, just how important family is to you and how they shape you as a person and how your being a papa has changed you as a director.
Yeah, I think, there's no thunder without my family. That's why I got into it, for my oldest daughter. And then as much time that this takes, if I don't have their support, then I'm probably not doing it. And they're engaged. You got to think, like I said, my son drives up after workouts from Johnson City, Tennessee. My daughter, son-in-law, grandkids fly in from San Francisco. My wife's at everything. My younger daughter's on every bench. And that's when I say it's like a family culture. That's because that's what I'm used to. When I tell these parents when I'm recruiting their daughters, I will treat you like I treat my daughter. I think something special about us is like I've went through it with my own kids before. So I know what these parents are thinking and they're feeling, so I understand it. And there's nothing better than being Pawpaw it's just different. They get what they want. I try to be firm with them. I still try to be strong and aggressive, but it doesn't work. There's another side to me. And that's the side that all our kids see. It doesn't surprise our kids. It might surprise you. It might surprise the people that's going to view this podcast. But inside our program, that doesn't surprise. Like, our kids aren't surprised. They're changing diapers, or they're rocking the baby to sleep. Everybody's hanging out in the lobby. That's typical. But you just, you gotta say, don't judge a book by its cover. I'm Pawpaw duty. I love it, and I always will, and hopefully they'll be playing for Pawpaw one day, and I won't be as nice. I'll be on their ass like I am everybody else.
I hear that. So, moving forward with the Elite 24, you had, 4 athletes? You had Leah Macy, Dee Alexander, Zakiya Johnson, and Ivana Minyaka playing there in New York at the Elite 24. I had a chance to watch it on TV, Team 5 versus Team Ice. Just talk a little bit about behind the scenes, some of the stuff that maybe folks didn't get a chance to see, and all the details that Under Armour puts into helping create such an amazing event for female athletes.
Yeah, Under Armour just in general, and I've met with all 3 shoe company brands, and talks with corporate about us joining their league. Under Armour just cares more about the kids. To me, and not just the kids, I think more specifically the girls. Like, Under Armour's got something special brewing with the girls, and you can't say that Under Armour and EYBL are comparable on the boys' side. On the girls' side, there's a lot of discussions. You can have heated arguments because it's right there, and that's because Under Armour's poured in their resources because they care about their girls, the girls' side and the girls' program. The Elite in Elite 24 thing, it was what you see on ESPN. It's great and it's special and all that, but all the stuff they do that's not on film. They're going out on yachts. They're eating together. They're going bowling together. They got special activities that they do, and just being around 24 of the best kids in the country. And competing in the practices, and the practices are intense. And the scrimmage game they had the Brooklyn Nets practice facility, stuff like that, where their kids are just going at each other and competing. And it's special. Under Armour allows them kids to do that, to put a lot of money behind it. And they do a lot of special stuff as a brand that I feel like that the other platforms don't provide as well.
Now, when I hit you up about, hey, will you jump on the podcast with me? And we talked about times. You were like, hey, it doesn't matter. We're up here every day between this time and this time. You just pick the day. We'll be up here working anyway. I know you guys are working 24/7. I just got to ask, what do y'all have cooking now? What can we expect going forward here with this next club season? Any big names you got to drop on anybody that's new that you guys have put in the fold that'll be playing with West Virginia across their chest in the spring of 2025?
Yeah, we got the 2 biggest additions so far off the top of my head. I don't want to leave anybody out, but Sabrina Anderson, 2027 guard, little white girl, got some sauce to her. Just scored the ball in a variety of ways. She can get you in your offense. I think she led Adidas 16U in scoring last year, so she can really score the ball and distribute the ball and get you in her offense. And then Claire Marshall, another 27 kid out of Kentucky that led 16U EYBL in rebounding, a glue kid, a hard worker. Might not be the biggest name out there, but that's not all. We talk about the big names because we're on a podcast, but kids like Claire Marshall, kids that help you win games, win championships. And there are going to be a couple more coming out. I figure you might hear a big time kid or 2 or 3. We'll just see what's on the horizon, but it ain't going to be from lack of effort. I can promise you that.
Now, you hit the nail on the head with the glue kids. Emma McManus, and I'm sorry if I butchered her last name, and Alexis Bordeswich, those were the most recent, I think, commits. So Emma committing to what, East Tennessee State?
Yeah.
And then Alexis to Duquesne. Just talk a little bit about those kids, what they've meant to your program, and what you do for your glue kids.
Yeah, and you add Brooke Atkins into that as well. It's committed to Youngstown State. Them kids help you win championships. Everybody can't be a McDonald's kid. Everybody can't, you got to put pieces to the puzzle together, and then they got to fit. And they've got to be able to sacrifice, some of their shots, some of their playing time. They sacrifice that to play on a team this talented, to play on a stage this big. Because they could go somewhere else and start and play the whole game and score a lot of points and do this. But those three kids all wanted to win. We don't win without Alexis Bordas, Emma McAmis, and Brooke Atkins. Like, we don't win without them kids. Like, we need them kids. Kids has been in, you talk about we're body collectors. Like, okay, Brooke and Alexis Bordas, I think, has been with us since his fifth grade. Emma came in 8th grade, played 4 years for us. Like, them's the glue kids. Them the kids that sets the screens. Them the kids that sit out there and stretch the defense. They get the jump balls. They box out. All the little things, make the extra pass. And that's what West Virginia Thunder basketball is about. It's built on kids like Brooke, Emma, and Alexis Bordas.
Man, thank you so much, Scott, for joining us today. Always a pleasure talking hoop with you, and look forward to doing it again soon.
Hey, I appreciate you, man.
Thanks for listening to this podcast. Visit us online at echosports.org for more information.